You're welcome to the Economy and Politics Show. I am Otto Abasekong. In this edition, we'll be discussing Nigeria as it marks 55 years since independence from the political-economic perspective. Presently, even though rebased as Africa's largest economy, the country still has a lot of work to do in the area of inclusive growth and building a viable and sustainable economy. At the moment, the year 2015 did not really happen. That is according to two young financial and economic analysts, Mr. Zila Karaiwe and Mr. Tunji Andrews. For them, it was more of an election year, which according to Dr. Doyin Salami, was a shift from politics and policy, and again to politics. So in terms of a significant economic policy framework and activity that impacted the financial market from the fiscal policy angle, we can say it was minimal, considering the election year. From the international axis, there are factors that have continued to dictate the pace of our political economy. They include the dip in the international crude oil price, the China market slowdown, and having to wait on the US and if it will eventually raise its interest rates, and the return of Iran into the global oil supply chain, a very serious consideration. Now on the indicators so far this year, it has not been a positive one. First, we now know that JP Morgan's threat to delist Nigeria from the emerging market government bond index could cost the country about $3 billion of investment. Mark that. Inflation is on a steady rise, now at 9.3%. And when we look at the slow GDP growth for second quarter 2015, it's now 2.35% as against the initial estimates. And so we now look at what would be the currency or the current policy input. First, at the monetary level, we've seen so much intervention at the monetary level. And at the last Central Bank Monetary Policy Committee meeting, it retained the monetary policy rate at 13%. We saw a reduction of the cash reserve ratio from 31% to 25%. That has been the monetary angle. For the fiscal policy, at the moment, is absent. It's absent because we do not have a federal cabinet yet at the moment, which shows how critical 2016 would be, expecting that a cabinet will be in place. But looking at three key issues ahead. First, strengthening institutional framework. That has become very important considering just recently the Senate President, for the first time, the Senate President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the Fourth Republic was at the dock of the Code of Conduct Tribunal on corruption allegations. Now, based on the whole issues around this case, the country needs a strong and independent judiciary alongside other agencies and commissions that have a responsibility of ensuring accountability and justice in the society. This is very important. And this also now leads to a constitutional review and amendment. This is needed because when this is done, it will help to equip these agencies and these parastatals to carry out their duties without fear and favor. Now, when we look at the National Conference of 2014, there's been much debate as that document was forwarded or handed over to President Muhammadu Buhari from the former President Jonathan. Is this document going to be discarded? That's the big question. Because it would be really sad considering the efforts and the deliberations and the issues that were arrived at the National Conference. All this was to grow and move the country forward. So that is one issue that we need to really get right. Now for the economic policy direction, which is very important for investors. After a long wait, to expect that President Muhammadu Buhari will send his list of his cabinet to the National Assembly for screening. He said it will be September and already 48 hours to round up the month. This will begin to give Nigerians a direction of the kind of economic team that will be in place and their policy direction. It becomes a challenge when particularly the president makes a statement on the economy, like there will be no devaluation. That should rather come from the input of the economic team and even further statement from the central bank. Now, looking at the Q2 performance, the policy will have to incorporate the services, the trade and agricultural sectors, which were the key economic drivers from the non-oil sector. This means that we need adequate infrastructure like power, rail, road, waterways, all this working together to ensure that these sectors become very key to the economy. Also, we need increased technology, and this has to do with adoption by fast-tracking the ICT broadband policy initiated by the previous administration. And then to the last key issue that we would like to identify today, the impact of the single treasury account and revenue is very critical now for the country. This area needs a lot of clarifications and strong political will from the government, that all the revenue generating agencies, also known as the ministry and departmental agencies, should remit as stated revenue to their single treasury account. There seems at the moment to be discordant tunes, as recently the Accountant General's Office released a memo saying that some of the MDAs were exempted from the treasury single account remittance. But the central bank governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, said in an interview on engaging journalists after the MPC meeting that he's not aware of such circular. Now, the treasury single account is one of the key steps by government to track an increased flow of revenue to the federation account. That is why it's important that there is need for more coordination amongst all agencies and government involved in this regard. That will be all for this edition of the Economy and Politics Show. Join the conversation at EcopoleNG, our Twitter handle, and our website, Economy and Politics, where we engage with facts. You can also watch our videos on our website, www.webtvng.com. And note that tomorrow, the 30th of September, by 4 p.m., there will be an incisive Twitter chat discourse with the CEO of ProShare, Mr. Lufemi Owemi, on the economy, as it focuses on our Independence Day and Nigeria. The theme will be fact versus fiction. I can join that conversation at Poll Matter or #NigeEconomy. It will be very interesting to be part of that conversation. Nigeria is in the crossroads on its economy, but with clarity of policy direction, we will see the silver lining. Thank you for watching and have a lovely day.